Money lending is something that is prevalent in our society. It is something that has been there since the beginning of time, and it's there up to now. Is money lending even legal? Can you lend someone, or can you borrow someone money? In today's world, we use borrow money. In today's video, I'm going to take you through the steps on how to money lend legally, how to borrow money legally, and most importantly, is money lending even legal? So, in today's video, we're going to tackle money lending. So what is money lending and what is money borrowing? Let me just go to the most basic term, then I'll take it to the legal term. Money lending is the act of one person or one individual giving money to another person, and that person receives that money. So in other words, the person receiving that money is just temporarily borrowing that money. The lender is giving it to the borrower. So money is shifting hands between them. However, that is not the legal definition. The legal definition of money lending is under the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions Act and Money Lenders Act of 2016. In accordance with that act, money lending is the act of a corporate body or a legal person. In this sense, I'll explain a legal person later on. But it's the act of a legal person, a legally recognized person, giving money temporarily to another person. So in other words, the legally recognized person is the lender, the other one is the borrower. So in other words, money lending is the process of money shifting hands from the lender to the borrower. Even the law will bring out that very simple definition. So what exactly is in charge of money lending in Uganda? Like we like to do it in Simply Legal, there are always acts which are in charge of most of these topics I talked to you about. So like I mentioned earlier, we have the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions Act, but it's also in conjunction with the Money Lenders Act of 2016. So it's one act. It's the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act of 2016. Why is it called this? Let me just explain to you briefly how an act comes into play. Acts of Parliament normally come into play from bills, and bills are normally laws which Parliament is hoping that they will become acts. I just want to make it very simple for you. So an act comes from a bill, and a bill comes from a number of, maybe let's say, laws which are said to be repealed, or maybe it's a prevalent issue. In most cases, bills come from prevalent issues in the society. So if let's say there's a very prevalent issue of money lending, then Parliament is going to sit down and say, you know what, there is this issue of money lending. Is there already an act in place? Come to think about this, there was already the Money Lenders Act, Cap 273. So like I've said earlier, the act that is in charge of money lending is the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act of 2016. That is what is in charge of money lending. This came into play because they mainly wanted to regulate money lending and all financial challenges, and basically anything that comes out of financial money lending, they wanted to regulate and control it. That is why they joined all the acts concerning money lending to make it the Tier 4. This also came into play because it was supposed to regulate what was there before. And what was there before was that it was the magistrates court back in the day. It was the magistrates court that was the one supposed to give or to issue out money lending licenses to money lenders. That is briefly about the act that is in charge of money lending. So therefore, the act also gives birth to the financial body that is in charge of money lending, and this is the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. This was birthed under Section 6, still of the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act of 2016. So Section 6 gives birth to the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. This is the one, its core mandate is to regulate and control financial and commercial management issues concerning money lending in Uganda. So therefore, let me take you to the next point. Who can money lend? So who can money lend? I'm sorry to break it down to you guys, but an individual, according to law, comes last in terms of who can money lend. However, the most important thing is that a company is the one that can money lend. Why is it like this? First of all, we need to realize that the law only recognizes legal persons. And who is a legal person? A legal person is someone who, in other words, is a company. A company must be legally recognized in government or by Uganda Registration Services Bureau. So in other words, for someone to legally money lend, you must have been a registered company, or you must register a company for you to lend money legally. Why is it like this? It's because it was very hard when government was coming up with the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions Act. It was very hard to govern individuals. But however, it is very easy to govern companies, because companies are incorporated first of all, and companies are legally recognized persons in the eyes of URSB, and Uganda Registration Services Bureau is the only government body which is in charge of registering companies. So therefore, your company must first of all have been incorporated successfully under the laws governing Uganda Registration Services Bureau. Secondly, it must be a legally recognized person, meaning it must have an address, must have a postal address, it must have everything that is necessary for it to be incorporated under a company. So therefore, where does this leave a natural person like me and you? The law does not destroy that whole issue of someone lending money in a friendly basis. However, what I can give you as a solution right now is that you must have a money lender's contract. If you're doing money lending business as an individual and you already lent money to someone, the safest bet for you is to have a money lender's contract. And if you stick to the end of the video, I'm going to take you through what you need to do, what are the steps you need to do in this contract, what is even legal. But like I mentioned earlier, for you to be on the safe side, you need to register a money lender's company. If you do it as an individual, it's going to be very hard for you to enforce it under the courts of law. However, there's always a solution in the law. There are always loopholes. So let's go deeper into how you can apply for a money lender's license, either as a company or as an individual. So who can apply for a money lender's license, or how can you apply for a money lender's license? Like I told you, to answer the question of who, it's only a legally recognized company that has been incorporated, or it can also be an institution that has been, or that has come out of an act of parliament, or it has been incorporated from parliament. So how can you apply for money lender's license? Like I told you earlier on, the government institution that is in charge of money lenders everywhere, or money lending business, is the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. So you will have to write to that body, the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. You apply to that body, you ask them for a license. However, it's not just that direct. You must have the following things. Remember, like I told you, you need to be a legally recognized company. So you need your certificate of incorporation. Like I told you, it's very, very important for you to have your certificate of incorporation, because this will show that you're already registered under URSB, you have done everything, you're a fully incorporated company of your own. Then you should have the particulars of the directors of the company. So URSB and also Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority wants to understand that this company is fully functioning like an ordinary company should function. It has directors, it has a certificate of incorporation, it has a physical and postal address, so you need all of the particulars of your company. After you have applied for a license, thereafter, it usually takes about 3 months for Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority to get back to you, and it wants to take in your license, your application for the license. Afterwards, the regulatory authority will do what's called consideration. They'll put you into the gazette to see whether your directors are people of good character. I'll get to that later on. However, afterwards, then they will now issue to you your license once you have fit the certain criteria. And after that, there's something important you need to know. Even if you've gotten your license, let's say maybe in July, or you've gotten it in February or March, the license always expires on 31st of December, because that is when it is easy for the regulatory authority to find out or it's easy for the regulatory authority to know that now in the next financial year, everyone is going to renew for their licenses. So let's now go to renewal of licenses. So now we're going to look at renewal of a license and also rejection of the license. Now, I know most people want to find out, number one, why would your license be rejected? Your license would be rejected due to just very one simple reason. But first of all, I would like to tell you that for you to understand renewal and rejection in the legal part of it, they lie in between section 80 to section 84 of the Tier 4 microfinance institutions and Money Lenders Act of 2016. So therefore, what would cause your license to be rejected? Number one, and the most simple of all, is Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority would have wanted to find out the character of the directors of this company. I want us to go back earlier to tell you that it is companies, or it is a company that is a legally recognized entity that is in position to money lend. So in other words, natural persons, first hold on a bit. I'm going to get to you guys later on. This mainly is to companies. The easiest part for you to, or the easiest way for you to money lend is to incorporate your own company, and it's not too much. I did an earlier video on how to register a company. You'll go and visit that one later. So back to the point. The moment any of the directors of the company is a person of bad character, or is a person who has been convicted of a felon or a misdemeanor, or you've been criminally convicted of anything, then that will also be grounds for your license to be rejected. Section 80 of the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act of 2016 clearly stipulates that the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority has grounds to reject your application for a license because of such a ground. This is because they do not want someone of wrongdoing or someone who has done anything criminally convicting to manage such an institution. Something very important to note is that it's not just any criminal offense that can make you miss out on a license or for your application for a license to be rejected. It has to be an offense that is something concerning maybe corruption. It has to be something concerning financial mismanagement, corruption, mismanagement of office, embezzlement of funds. Because if you also look at it in the humane perspective, why would government, or why would the regulatory authority give such powers to money lend to someone who would eventually embezzle these funds of their very own company? So let's now go to the renewal part. I hope you've understood the revocation part. Let us now go to the renewal part. For your license to be renewed, it's something very simple. It's stipulated under section 82, still of the Tier 4 the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act of 2016. You can renew 3 months even before your expiry date. Still, that is stipulated under section 82, still of the Act. So let us now go to the offenses concerning money lending, and let's go finally to what entails a money lender's contract, and we'll then wrap up the video. So what should a money lender's contract entail? As we finalize the video, I'm going to tell you first about how a money lender's contract is supposed to be governed, what the particulars entail, and later on I'll also take you to the offenses concerning money lending, and then we'll wrap up the video. So what entails a money lender's contract? Number one, it needs to be signed by both the lender and the borrower. Something very simple. I've done a video on contract law, so you also go and check that out later on, my dear viewers. So it should be signed by both the lender and the borrower. Number two, it should state the particulars, seal of the lender and the borrower, their physical addresses, also addresses. It should also state the nature of security. I had forgotten to mention earlier that in the Act, or even in the previous Money Lenders Act, there is always collateral security, and there are specific guidelines for collateral security. So, like I mentioned earlier, the nature of the security, it needs to be signed by both the lender and the borrower. It needs to state the date under which the contract was signed. It needs to state the principal amount that has been borrowed, meaning the money that is in question. If Terry Kahuma borrows from Moses Sekalembe 70 million, it needs to be stated in the moneylender's contract. Also, what needs to be stated there is the witnesses. Even if Terry and Moses have a contract together, there needs to be a witness there, and that's a third party. And finally, the interest that is going to be charged on the borrower, because like any other money lending business or any other money lending contract, there's always interest. The more money you keep for the lender, the more interest is going to keep piling up. So there needs to be interest of the principal amount. And then finally, the duties and obligations of the lender and the borrower. So I just want us to go through them again. There needs to be the nature of the collateral security. It needs to be signed, and it needs to be signed by the borrower and the lender. It also needs to be, in the contract, there needs to be the duties of both the borrower and the lender. And yes, that's just about it. Also the interest that has been charged on the principal amount. So all of that entails what? All of that entails what a money lending contract should be or should contain. Now, back to natural persons, or like ordinary human beings, me and you. Like I told you earlier, the Tier 4 microfinance institutions and money lenders up to 2016 only recognizes legal persons, and these are incorporated companies. However, as a natural person, if John, I don't know, I'm speaking to a John there. If John, you lent your money to Mary, and Mary didn't pay you back, it's going to be very hard for you to enforce your payment of the loan back in court. However, for a future John and a future Mary, let me just make work easy for you. The moment two natural people want to enter into a money lending contract, always make sure we follow the guidelines of the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act of 2016 by coming up with a money lending contract. You follow all of the particulars that I have stated in this video. Make sure that the moment you have a contract, you sign that John will expect payment from Mary at around this time of the day on this month, or Mary will be paying in installments. Because the moment there is a money lender's contract, then it will be very easy for the both of you to go and enforce your rights and duties as a borrower or a lender in court. Now, for those who want to recover their money, or for those who had entered into contracts and they want to get their money back from stubborn borrowers of money, then the moment you have a contract, like I told you earlier in contract law, a contract is an enforceable document in the eyes of the law. This is also under the Contracts Act of 2010. So that is the only way as a natural person you can enforce the recovery of your money back. Still, court has duties under Section 88 of the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act of 2016. Section 88 gives court powers under which they can enforce these contracts. Court will have to first ascertain whether there was a receipt of payment, whether the money lender's contract had all of the particulars that I have stated earlier on. So the receipt of payment has to be there, the particulars of payment have to be there, the postal addresses. So if court really sees that the borrower has taken so long to pay back the lender's money, then therefore, under Section 88, the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act of 2016, under Section 88 will give court powers to enforce the borrower to pay back the lender's money. So natural persons, I hope you guys are now okay. Yeah, many people have been telling me to do a video on money lending. However, there's something you need to know. It is very easy for a money lender's contract to be null and void. What are the things that can make a money lender's contract be null and void? Number one, if the interest that has been charged on the borrowers, if the interest that has been charged on the borrower is too much money, now they'll call it compound interest, because ideally it should be simple interest that is charged on the money that has been borrowed. Then it can be null and void. The contract can be now made a null and void contract. This is because you cannot charge too much money, especially when you have just been introduced from a money lender to money borrower. So let's now go to the offenses that can make a money lender's contract null and void, or let us go to the offenses which are surrounding money lending. So to wrap up this video, what are the offenses concerning money lending? The offenses are stipulated under Section 84 and Section 111, still of the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act of 2016. What does Section 84 say? Section 84 states that anyone who operates a money lending business without a valid money lender's license will be liable to paying 200 currency points, but worst of all, under Section 84 subsection 2 will have his or her license revoked forever. Because the reason why the law does this is that the law wants everyone who is operating a money lending business to have a valid money lender's license. I already stipulated, I already told you what a money lender's license should entail and how to apply for it. Let's now go to the final one. Section 111 talks about the capital offenses around money lending. This, let me just paraphrase it. Section 111, still of the Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act of 2016, states that anyone who knowingly or even unknowingly fraudulently wants to alter or change anything in the books concerning the money lending. I had not mentioned this earlier, but for someone to conduct a money lender's business successfully, you must have books of payment, you must have books of records, receipts. So what this law comes into say is that under Section 111, anyone who knowingly wants to tamper with the books of records, the account keeping, anything that is going to keep the records of money lending, then that person will be liable for conviction and will be sent to prison for 4 years. So I just wanted to keep the suspense there. So in other words, Section 111 states that anyone who wants to tamper or alter the books of records, the receipts, the books of keeping, anything that shows records of the money lender's business is liable to conviction of 4 years of imprisonment. And this is actually very serious because this is now a criminal offense. So I hope all of you have learned, number one, how to recover your money, what a money lender's business looks at, also who can money lend. We have looked at two persons. We've looked at a legal person being a company, and we also looked at a natural person. The law recognizes both legal and natural persons. So thank you so much for listening to me. I remain yours truly, Terry Kahuma. Welcome to Simply Legal, everyone who is new to the channel. Also, for those who are new to the channel, I hope you loved this video. Please go and check out my other legal reviews on all my legal topics that I've covered. For those who are new to my channel, also feel free to hit the subscribe button. In fact, smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of our weekly uploads, and also feel free to hit the comment section. And if I've forgotten anything in this video, please, my fellow lawyers, my fellow counsel, please hit me in the comment section, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Oh, by the way, also before you go, don't forget to follow me on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook. I all use the same names. I don't use Simply Legal, I use Terry Kahuma. So feel free to also hit me up on those social media platforms so we can continue expanding the Simply Legal community. You can always hit me, you can hit my DM on Instagram, also inbox me on Twitter, and also message me on Facebook, and I'll surely get back to you. And I remain yours truly, Terry Kahuma. See you. So what entails a money lending video? For a money lending video.